New England Football Show presented by Mortgage Right. I'm your host, John Sarianides. And as always, I'm joined by my partner, Kevin Stone. Kevin, how are you this evening?
Doing good, man. It is training camp eve.
Training Camp Eve. I hate when people do that during the holidays, right? Like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. The holidays are annoying enough as it is. Winter sucks. That part annoys me though when people are like Eve. It's so stupid, and now you're doing it. In any event, starting off the show with a bang. Before we get started, and I promise you we're going to talk football tonight. We're not just going to be two grumpy old men staring at the clouds sitting on our porch. I do want to remind you that if you're in the market to purchase your first home, sell your current home, move into your next one, or refinance, give our good buddy Herb Devine a call, 781-254-2846. You can also shoot him an email at herb@mortgageright.com. With over 27 years of experience, Herb has the knowledge and the know-how to help you in this process. You need experience on your side if you're going to make a real estate purchase. Herb Devine has that experience to make the process seamless. Again, give him a call at 781-254-2846 or shoot him an email at herb@mortgageright.com. He and his team are available anytime, including nights and weekends. All right, Stone, summer's over. It's official. Patriots open up training camp unofficially tomorrow. Mike Vrabel, Christian Gonzalez, Hunter Henry among those meeting with the media tomorrow. They officially open training camp on Wednesday, as does 95% of the league. I said this to you before we went live. Is it just me or is it a little early this year? A year ago this week, I was in Florida, and I remember we had kind of a media meeting with Stacey James and his team, and the Patriots didn't report to training camp until July 26th. This year, it's July 23rd. It's 3 days early, but again, is it just me or does this seem like it's way too early?
So it's funny. I was thinking today, this is year 5 for us covering the team, which is wild to think about. But to me, it doesn't feel early. So no, I guess. But that's because of the new head coach, right?
No.
I thought teams.
No. I know why you thought that.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the dates, I'm pretty sure like 95% of the league reports on Wednesday. There's a couple of teams, I think like Atlanta and Pittsburgh are reporting Thursday. The Chargers are already in day 4 of camp because they're playing the Lions in the Hall of Fame game. The Lions reported July 19th, so the rest of the league is reporting Wednesday.
Yeah, no, look, I guess it is a little bit early, but after OTAs, I'd rather them be getting started now than have to wait any longer, because they were, again, no pads, none of that.
You couldn't make it another 3 days?
Well, no, I hate the summer anyway, so the quicker we get
the summer hates you.
He
told me, in fact.
It's fine. But in terms of, like, I want them to get started. Like, there was good positive momentum coming out of OTAs. Maybe the best news that we got is that we've gotten no news, like no dig stuff off the field, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I heard Mike Giardi and Tom Curran on TV tonight. It's the first time in a while where you're going into it and it's all about football, right? Like, there's no drama, there's no holdouts, there's no hold-ins. Like, that's the cool part. So yes, it might be a little bit early, but it'll be nice to see these guys get started and see if they can build off what they had in OTAs, because there is positive momentum for the first time in a while.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see. Put the pads on. I don't want to hear this crap about positive momentum.
No, that is.
I can't stand how the media latches on to stupid shit like that. Honestly.
No, so this first
positive.
Right.
Let's just put the pads on. I want to see if this offensive line can actually hit and block somebody on a consistent basis. I want to see Barmore back. I want to see how he plays with Milton Williams. I want to see what kind of game shape he's in. Put the pads on, and then let's start the conversation. Until then, this feel-good horse shit going into this thing, enough. The coach in me doesn't care about that stuff. It's all about let's start practicing, put the pads on, and then we can start talking about this team. Good buddy Ken Matthias joins the show. Appreciate you guys being back in business. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate you joining us. Ken also says getting to it, what's the biggest storylines heading into Pats camp that starts Wednesday? Well, we're going to get to that, so hold your horses there, Matthias. We are going to get to that. But I do want to point out that what we're going to do tonight is we're going to preview the offense. We're going to talk about what players we think need to have a big camp. And then I want to also get into some of these big storylines. But let's start there. Let's start with the offense. Last week we talked about the defense, and we previewed the defensive side of the ball, and we talked about the key free agent additions and how they're going to fit in and how this defense needs to be better. Because when the Patriots were at their best in the Belichick-Brady era, we all knew the offense most years, 8 out of 10 years, the offense was really good and could score points. But there were plenty of years during that run where the defense carried the day and was a big reason why they won AFC championships and Super Bowls. For this team, in my opinion, to get back to a more competitive level, it is going to start on the defensive side of the ball. But make no mistake about it, Kevin, the focus, the focal point, I should say, this summer in this training camp is going to be Josh McDaniels' offense. That's what people are going to be looking at because that's what people do naturally anyway, right? 3 years ago, we were talking about Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the offense and then putting in some West Coast concepts. Then last year was AVP and running the West Coast offense and Drake May as a rookie and what that all looked like. This year, the focus is going to be on Josh McDaniels and his return and what the offense looks like so far. And I suspect, look, everybody will sit under the tent. They'll chart throws. They'll write down notes. They'll say all these things, including you, all you observation people that cover camp. But for me, when I look at the offense, it begins and ends with Drake May. I want to see where Drake May is in terms of his development within this system going into year 2. I want to see what he looks like. I want to see if the timing and the rhythm is there. I want to see if he's comfortable with the terminology, and I'll be able to tell based on how they break the huddle lineup and what he has to do pre-snap before he starts his cadence. I want to see if he's on the same page with Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper and Matt Collins. Of course, he's going to start the year on the PUP list and all the other receivers. So I'm looking to see what is his comfort zone. That's what I want to see. Is Drake May comfortable? Did he really absorb all of this in OTAs and minicamp? Was he comfortable with the base install? Can he bring that comfort level with him to training camp? That's going to be the biggest thing I'm looking at this summer in training camp because I don't care what anybody says. I think the offensive line is going to be better. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be better coached. They're more talented. They're going to be better. Offensively, the Patriots go as Drake May goes. That's going to be the one thing I'm going to focus in on every time I'm at practice this summer.
Did you happen to see Forge in Foxborough?
No, I haven't watched a single one of them.
So, ironically enough, this one was all about Drake May's leadership and Josh McDaniels for the most part. A little bit of Doug Marrone feature in there as well, but you're right. It's all about McDaniels. And look, I know you and I are confident in him compared to some other people. I know like Joe Murray, for example, is not high on him. You two have gone back and forth on the air a few times, but excuse me, you're right. It's all about McDaniels. It's all about the offensive line. I have faith in Doug Marrone, and not just because we worked with him last year. He's been around forever. Like he's experienced. I think the biggest thing for this staff this year is the experience. But going back to what you said about, you'll be able to tell with Drake May. Can you tell even without the pads? Like, can you tell that this?
Well, you can tell little things like how comfortable he is. First of all, the pace in the huddle. How are they getting in and out of the huddle? That will tell you how comfortable he is with the verbiage and regurgitating it when it comes in the headset. Then you're going to be able to tell with the way guys are lining up. Does he have to adjust guys in a formation, whether it be move them down a foot or whether they've lined up wrong and he has to get them on the right side? How quickly is he getting under center or in the gun, getting into his cadence and starting a movement? There are all these little things that if you've coached football long enough, you can time the quarterback's rhythm in terms of how comfortable they are within the system. Because, again, so much of it is having a level of comfort with the offense, with the verbiage, with the formations, making sure you know who's in what personnel grouping, where they lined up, are they lined up right? You're going to be able to tell if you've coached, you're going to be able to tell if he's comfortable within the system just by watching him manage the team that way. It's not even going to be about watching him throw the football or making plays in and out of the pocket. You're going to be able to tell his comfort level based on how the start of the play pre-snap, what it looks like before he starts the cadence and receives the ball post-snap. So, yeah, you can definitely tell 100%.
Well, once the pads do come on, the turnovers are the biggest thing. Can't happen.
Well, the turnovers are going to be the biggest thing regardless. Pads or no
Of course.
pads.
Yeah.
I mean, he turned the ball over this spring, too, and we said it going into this offseason that
one day, yeah.
Right. We said this, he threw the 4 interceptions, but we said this going into this offseason. The number one thing he needed to do in terms of his development was take care of the football. He has to be better at taking care of the football. It was a major problem for him last year. If he doesn't do it, he's not going to develop at the rate he should, and this offense isn't going to perform at the level it should.
No, and I have confidence in that being better. And look, the Fortune Foxborough thing, it's going to be all positive. Like, it's going to be, I don't want to call it propaganda because it's not that, but it's going to be positive. But the very first scene in the second episode, we see Drake May scramble to his right and head to the sideline, and he gets a first down. And Mike Vrabel was saying, look, you just got a first down. Like, that's all we need. But he had his eyes up the entire time. And Vrabel says, good job remaining a passer. But look, you still got the 10 yards. You didn't force anything. So I think coaching alone is going to help those turnovers come down. You hope that, to your point, the terminology is there. And you hope that there's some more, and you've talked about this, it's going to look the same, but there is going to be some creativity. Like, there's going to be some newness. There has to be. So that's what I'm hoping he can run smoothly. Like, the older stuff that we'll all recognize, I think that'll be fine. Because as you remember, he was talking about watching film from past teams last year. And that's even with that coaching staff. So it's the newer stuff that I want to know that he can run as well, along with that older stuff. But I do think coaching in general, he's going to be better. There's very, very little doubt in my mind. Offensive line, look, you don't know who your center is still. You hope it's Garrett Bradbury, but you don't know that. Morgan Moses is a great leader, but he's getting older. So you got to hope that he holds up too. And you hope Campbell is Campbell. So it should be better, yeah, but still questions for sure.
I mean, they have a lot of questions. They will be better. I think when you talk about coaching, I think where we're going to see a difference in terms of coaching. And again, this is not a knock on Scott Peters. Kugler was here last year. He's back this year. Honeling is coaching the offensive line as well. So they got a lot of experience working with that offensive line. So the expectation is naturally, especially with Marone, they're going to be better. All that being said, you only brought in Morgan Moses, Garrett Bradbury, and Will Campbell. There's still a lot of retention from the last couple of years. So you're still going to need guys to step up inside and be better, plain and simple, because it's going to be a lot of competition at center in those two guard spots. It's not a lock that Cole Strange is your left guard. It's not a lock. Well, it is a lock that Onwenu is your right guard, but it's not a lock that Garrett Bradbury is your center. It could very easily be Ben Brown. It could very easily be Jared Wilson, the rookie out of Georgia. So there's a lot of question marks here. The one thing that concerns me about Bradbury is he's a pretty good run blocker. You watch his tape, he still is a really effective run blocker. He's technically sound. He gets into position. He gets movement. He can come off double teams and seal on the backside, or even off vertical double teams and seal on the front side. But in pass pro, he ranked, I think 35th last year. And I don't put a lot of stock into the PFF stuff because it's not really football coaches that are the ones breaking it down. And for me, that matters. I don't need some nerd in England telling me that a guy can't pass block when Matt MFer hasn't done that in his life. So all that being said, they will be better. But the question is how much better? Now, I do want to come back to May for a sec, but before I do, Xavier Baker joins the show. X, thanks for joining us, man, on X. We appreciate it. The biggest question is, Drake the guy. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Xavier. We're going to find that out this year. We're not going to find it out in camp, but I think we'll have a pretty good idea by the end of this season.
I was just saying, he's your guy for at least 2 or 3 more years, so he better be. Yeah. But
and you may not, and by the way, for what it's worth, you may not fully find out by the end of this season either. You want him to progress. You want him to take meaningful steps, but you're not going to fully know whether or not he's the guy really potentially until next year. That's when you might get a more truer sense as to whether or not he's the guy.
Yeah, just to the previous talking point, it's another new offense. Like it's going to take time, especially in camp. Like
and we know how much that screwed up Mac Jones.
Well, right, and as much as we talk about, the interceptions, well, that's not that they don't matter, but charting all the throws and everything, he's going to have a bad day. Like there's going to be a time where we're on here talking about 2 or 3 interceptions in camp.
He's going to have a bad practice. We can't, to your point, we can't put that much stock in that.
Correct. Now the joint practices, those would be huge, especially that Redskins team. There's that. If you remember.
Commanders Donald Trump, not Redskins.
Correct. And that goes to show my age too. Those are huge. And if you remember that Philly practice last year, that was like an all Madden team coming in here.
Yeah,
and
I said it then and I'll say it again. It was the varsity versus the JV.
Yes. That can't happen this year when they come into town. There's a lot of talent on that team now, even if they don't have Terry McLaurin. So those joint practices, those ones,
you see old friends Jonathan Jones and Dietrich Wise.
Correct. Debo Samuel, Larry Tunzel, like they loaded up. So
they did. Von Miller.
Yeah. So those are the ones where you'll be able to tell. And I think they're having them in Minnesota and New York, or maybe just Minnesota too. But it's going to be. Look, he's going to have up and down. It's just the up and down has to be in camp. It's got to be figured out by the time the season starts.
Well, you're going to have ups and downs during the season too. Unfortunately, this fantasy world that people live in, where if he's going to be bad, it has to be in camp. Yeah, good luck with that. He's going to have bad games this season. He's not going to play well in every game. He's not going to play well every snap. He's not going to play well every series. He's not going to play well every quarter, every game. He's going to have bad sequences. And what it comes down to is, and this is where I think we'll be able to gauge how much he has developed, is how does he overcome that and move on to the next play, the next series? Because that's really the ultimate litmus test when it comes to how much a quarterback has developed. Bad things are going to happen, but you've got to be able to overcome those things. You got to have short-term memory, and you've got to move on to the next play. You can't sit there and dwell on it. Ken checks back in. How confident are you guys with Drake May starting campus QB1? I would say very confident. I have I don't see any scenario where Josh Dobbs is competing for the job. Do you guys think he can adjust to McDaniel's offense quickly? Yes. I mean, look, there's a lot of volume in that system. The Patriots offense, if you want. I know some people like to call it Perkins, Earhart, and whatever. I coined it the East Coast offense. There's a lot of volume there. And there's a lot of sight adjustments, especially post-snap. But from a play structure standpoint, conceptually, the concepts are actually relatively easy. And they have a lot of the same generic run-of-the-mill pass concepts that you'll find in any offense. So I do think he'll be able to adjust relatively quickly. Where I do think he could potentially hit a wall, Ken, is he could hit a wall in terms of getting on the same page with the receivers. Stephon Diggs recently talked about how hard it is to learn this passing game. Well, that's concerning to me because this is a veteran receiver who's done it at a high level for a long time. But I also think it speaks to, as I'm going through puberty, I also think it speaks to the fact that those sight adjustments, especially post-snap, in this offense can be very difficult. They're very similar to what you used to see in the run and shoot. They're very similar to what a lot of Peyton Manning's Colts teams did post-snap with a lot of the route adjustment / sight adjustment by the quarterback getting on the same page with the receiver on the adjusted route. So that's where they've got to get on the same page. I think if they do, I think they'll be fine. Rock checks in. Rock, great to hear from you, buddy. Says, what do you think the breakdown is on skilled positions? 6 wide receivers, 4 running backs, 3 tight ends, 2 QBs. I think that's a really good question, Rock, and great to hear from you, man. I think when I look at that number from a skill standpoint, Kevin, I could see that being the case because obviously when it comes to running back, you're going to carry Stevenson, you're going to carry Henderson, you're going to carry Gibson. Then it's a matter of do you carry Larison? Do you carry Jennings? Do you carry one of those other guys? That remains to be seen. I do think they're going to carry 3 tight ends because I think that they're going to like one of those third guys in the mix for the third tight end, whether it's C.J. Dippre or whether it's Jaheim Bell or Jack Westover. I think one of those guys makes the team. I think they're going to want to play with 3 tight ends. And 2 QBs, I can see that. I can see that. That's plausible. Wide receiver's a different deal, though, right? Like you can debate who they carry there.
Yeah, so I want to start at tight end. Noah Fant. What do you think about him? Because I'm not sure. You talk about the 3 tight ends. Hooper's starting on PUP. He's also getting older. And none of those tight ends did anything in OTAs. And again, I know it's OTAs. That's a caveat. But if none of those guys do anything, is Noah Fant they could bring in, a guy they could bring in, do you think?
Yeah, potentially. Potentially. But he's underachieved in his career. He was a first-round pick that never really materialized into that kind of a player.
But given the talent we've seen in him, maybe he's a reclamation project here, no?
He might be, but again, I would imagine you're probably going to get Hooper back sooner than later.
Yeah.
And look, they went hard after C.J. Dippre, and they not only signed him early, but they gave him a bunch of money. I think their intention is he's the leader in the clubhouse for that third tight end spot. He has a distinct advantage over Bell and Westover. So I think what it comes down to for me is, does he have a strong enough camp where he makes the team? But you're talking about a guy who's 6'5", 255, 260. He fits what they want out of that third tight end. They don't really want a move guy necessarily. They don't want an undersized guy like Westover or Bell. They want a guy that has similar size to the Y and the U that they can do some different things with. He's also a guy that has experience both at Maryland and Alabama and lining up in the backfield and being a lead blocker. So he has the inside track to that job. I don't see them bringing in a Noah Fant. And look, he runs hot and cold. He did it in Denver, did it in Seattle. I'm not surprised Seattle decided to move on from him. I don't think the Patriots take a bite out of that apple. I think they're going to try to find that third tight end and even possibly that second tight end, depending on Hooper's situation. I think they're going to want to try to find that guy in the room now, somebody that's there on the roster now. I think that would be their preference. Mike checks in. He says, don't really have faith in North Carolina Tar Heel quarterbacks. Remember Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah, he's not Trubisky.
No, he's better than Trubisky. But I get your point, Mike.
Sure.
I mean, they don't have the greatest track record, but he's better than Trubisky.
It's not even close, I don't think. But going back to the receivers real quick, I don't think Javon Baker makes this team.
I wrote about that yesterday, where I think there's a world where Jalen Polk and Javon Baker don't make this team. Javon Baker, I think, is a lock not to make this team.
I do too.
But I would not rule out Polk not making this team.
No,
if you're them, you have to weigh. When you think about Polk, he would have to have a really strong camp, better than he did last year. And I thought he had a pretty good camp. But if you're the Patriots, you have to weigh. When you think about, all right, Jalen Polk versus Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon Boutte caught 43 passes last year.
Yeah,
he was arguably their best receiver the last 3 weeks of the season. So I would give the edge to Kayshon Boutte, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a rapport there now with the quarterback. You talk about continuity, that's huge. So, Polk was the second name I was going to say after Baker. I've gone back and forth on board, but he had a great year.
Let's not forget Chisholm. Chisholm had a tremendous spring as an undrafted free agent, and he has put himself in a position where if he can carry that performance over to training camp, he has a legitimate shot of making this team as well. So the competition for that 5th and 6th spot at wide receiver is probably going to be the biggest competition of the summer in training camp.
Yeah, and he can run kicks back too. Well, punts back as well. So I went back and forth on Kendrick Bourne, but when you think about it, that 21 season, that 21 season under McDaniels, I think that was his best year.
It was his best year as a Patriot. And the other thing is this: if you don't feel he should be on your roster, then you need to do the right thing and trade him. He has enough value around the league that you can get something in return for him. Probably at best, you're probably looking at a 6th-round pick, but you can get something for him.
You're saying now, right? Don't string it out.
Yeah, I would say within the first 2 weeks, if you get the sense that some of these young guys have risen to the occasion and they've accepted the challenge, and they're fitting into this system well, and you can see them potentially being at least on the practice squad, if not the active roster, then yeah, then you try to do right by the player and he has some value, you shop him and see what you can get for him. Again, and here's the other thing, Kevin. You never know. Injuries happen every day in training camp. Somebody goes down, whether it be with the Patriots or another team, somebody goes down, let's say on another team. Now, all of a sudden, if you decide you want to start shopping Kendrick Bourne, he's going to have value as a veteran receiver.
Yeah, and just on the receivers again, too. Stephon Diggs is not one of those guys listed on PUP. Him starting with the team in the first day
It's
was
impressive.
massive.
Yeah.
Massive from a
Yes.
leadership
It's
standpoint.
been a while since we've had a Kevin Stone overstatement.
It's not. I mean, it's not though. In
You
terms
love
of chemistry,
hyperbole.
I do. But in terms of chemistry, with Drake May and the leadership,
Oh no, I agree with you, man. I'm just
Yeah.
busting. I'm just
No, I
busting the
know.
coconuts. I mean, I
his
agree with you. I think it's huge from the standpoint of them needing to get on the same page, especially in light of what Diggs said a couple of weeks ago.
well, I was going to say, and you also know there's $16 million waiting for him if he
Yeah.
passes that physical. So, and he damn sure knows that. But him being there day one on Wednesday, that can't be overstated. But and I just didn't touch on the running backs real quick. I think Larson makes the team, and it's not just because I think he looks exactly like Rex Burkhead. He was all over the place in OTAs, and again, I keep giving.
I don't
the
see him
caveat.
on the active roster though. I
No?
think unless he has a really strong camp where it's kind of
Yeah.
one of those things where it's undeniable, you have to carry him. I could see him ending up on the practice squad, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I don't see him making the team. Again, a lot of this also comes down to return value. Can he return kicks? If he
Yeah.
can return kicks, that helps his case. But again, the running back situation is interesting to watch because what's Antonio Gibson's role going to look like? I
He
mean,
was
if
good
I'm
last year.
them, Ramondre Stevenson's my starting running back, but he's also on a very short leash when it comes to fumbling and turning the ball over.
Yep.
But also, if I'm them, I want to get Travion Henderson involved as soon as possible. Of course, they
Yeah.
signed him the other day. He's in the fold now. I want to get him as many touches as possible early on. If Travion Henderson has a strong camp, strong preseason, well, if you like Larson, then I would think that Antonio Gibson has to become dispensable. Like you have to be, at that point, you have to put him out there and see if you can trade him as well. So that's one of the things to keep an eye on here because, look, Mike Vrabel, Ryan Collins, they're going to let this thing ride with this roster this season. But there's a lot of guys on this roster, Kevin, that are going to need to have a strong summer, a strong season to be a part of this team's future. There's a lot of guys that are do big money next offseason. So, you know, the Mike Onwendus, the Kyle Duggars, those guys are going to need to have a strong camp, a strong season. They're going to need to bounce back. Onwendu only committed 4 penalties last year. He played over 1,000 snaps, but he wasn't great. And Duggar, he got the bag, and he kept counting the money in the bag, and he didn't really show up at times last season. So these guys are going to need to have a strong camp and a strong season. But to go back to your point about the running backs, there's going to be some competition there. And a guy like Antonio Gibson is a guy that I would keep an eye on.
On Stevenson, you know, you talk about letting the roster ride this year. He's not a Vrabel guy. Could you see Henderson starting?
I think if
I
he's
could.
struggling, here's the thing. Ramondre Stevenson's skill set is terrific. He
course.
can fit in this system seamlessly. He's a terrific receiving back. He's good in pass pro. We all know what he can do as a runner. He's a big back. He's solid. He can absorb contact. He can play multiple snaps a game, 20, 25 different types of snaps, whether it be as a runner, a receiver, a pass blocker. All of those things are great. He should be your RB1 heading into camp. He's got to do a better job of taking care of the freaking football. If he doesn't do that, yes, to answer your question, I could see Henderson supplanting him and being the starting running back because he takes care of the football. He's better in pass pro. He's a more dynamic playmaker with the ball in his hands in space. You can do more with him in motion out of the backfield. You can do more with him lining up outside of the backfield. You can do a lot of different things with him. And so Stevenson's going to need to make a very, very favorable impression early on to keep his job as the starting running back of this football team.
Yeah, I agree. And I see the question here about Douglas. He's in the same boat, no?
Kevin, you and I have had this conversation. Pop Douglas is a media darling around here for a couple of reasons. One, we've seen at times when the ball's in his hands, he can be a dynamic playmaker. Two, he's a great kid. Great kid. Great to deal with. Great personality.
Great to talk to.
He's an awesome dude. But at the end of the day, this is a big year for him because when you look at Pop Douglas, the first thing you think of in this offense is, oh, he's going to be the next in that slot lineage. He's going to be the next Wes Welker. He's going to be the next Julian Edelman. He's going to be the next Danny Amendola. Pump the brakes. He's a better athlete than those guys in a lot of ways. He's faster. But he's not the polished route runner that any of those guys were. He doesn't have the ability to create separation with his route at the top of a break. He will try to create separation with his speed. And I think that there's a big difference there. And so, yes, on paper, when you think about that Patriots offense and how productive the slot receiver was in that offense, Douglas could certainly be the next in line. But he's another guy that, for me at least, I need to see more out of him because some of the gloss is worn off the baseball card there. I need to see more out of Pop Douglas this summer. I don't want to wait until September and October to see more out of him. I want to see more out of him this summer. I want to see him when they're in 11 personnel, be that third receiver and be in the slot and be a guy that you can run a jet sweep with, a fly sweep with, a perimeter screen with. You can get him out on a simple little 5-yard outcut on a second and short, third and short. He can create separation on the break, get to the stick, and get you a first down. I want to see all those things from him because while he's dynamic, and you and I have talked to people that coached against him in college, and they told us how explosive and dynamic he was when he was at Liberty, I need to see more of that here. And I think in this offense, one thing I will say is that in this offense, I do think he's going to play outside the hashes more than he did in Van Pelt's West Coast offense. Well, you and I have said this, and you can make the argument 2 years ago as a rookie, played for O'Brien, similar system. But you and I have seen what happens with him when he starts venturing into the middle of the field. He's not a guy, he's small, he's diminutive. He can't exactly protect himself. I think in this system with McDaniels, I think you're going to see him playing outside the hashes more.
And we talked about Efton Chisholm. He might Wally Pip him. You never know.
Yeah, I don't know if he Wally Pips him. I think that Douglas has enough support going into this camp that I think it's going to take a lot for him not to make this team. But Chisholm, but to your point, Chisholm could Wally Pip Keyshawn Boutte.
Oh, God, yeah. But no, in terms of Douglas, again, great kid off the field. I think this is, in terms of on the field, I think this is where Diggs can help him. He can give him that sort of, and again, you can see it. I know it's only OTAs, and I know it was specifically only in drills, but the swagger was up. The chatter is up. For that position, that position, that confidence and swagger is huge. I think that's where Diggs can help him the most.
Mike checks back in. Thanks for checking in, brother. Appreciate it. He says, Douglas is not tough enough for the slot. We'll see.
Yeah.
That could very well be a valid point, Mike. We'll see. And I think to Mike's point, there is a level of toughness that you need to have to play slot receiver in any system in this league, especially out of 11 personnel, where you're going to be a focal point. It's not because teams don't run as much 10 personnel anymore as they used to. But in 11 personnel, that guy is a focal point. And teams, if they feel that guy can affect the game and hurt them, they're going to play a bigger corner there. They're going to potentially play a third safety lined up over him. So he's going to need to be able to hold up because teams are going to get very handsy with him off the release. They're going to get very physical with him. And again, he's a small, diminutive guy. And got another comment here from Hogan's Hands. Yes, Chris Hogan checking in. Thanks, Chris. He says, yup. And I'm not sure it's Chris Hogan, but Hogan's Hands, thanks for checking in, brother. Appreciate it. Willem checks in. Great to hear from you, Willem. Hey, guys. Hope all is well. At a Mexican bar, having some beers after a run. 1 month away from preseason or less. Yes, training camp opens up on Wednesday, Willem. Thanks for checking in, brother. Enjoy the beers. Listen, take it from a fat guy who likes to work out and eat after. Don't negate that workout too much, my friend. I mean, hopefully they're low-carb beers. I know they taste like shizzle, but you don't want to negate that workout too much. Stone, you're the beer expert here. Your thoughts on Willem pounding carbs after a workout?
I don't work out, so good for him.
Yeah.
Shocking. I know
No,
Just
I
going
can
back
I
to,
can confirm Stone doesn't work out.
I know. I did back in the day, but going back to the
How
toughness,
far back are we talking about?
20 years.
So wait a minute. When you were 17, you worked out.
High school. Yeah, lacrosse
High
season.
school. Okay.
Lacrosse
Yeah,
and
but
golf.
don't give me that lacrosse shit. Lacrosse guys don't like the weight room. I coach lacrosse. They're allergic to iron. They don't love the weight room. So don't
So
act
that's
like you were Joe Weider in there
just
pumping
gotta get
away.
as long as you're
Relax
on the
on me.
wall, you're good. Just play that wall ball. The toughest thing. Julian Edelman's the toughest Patriot I've ever seen. Well, one of them, I should say. Um, Douglas has a better build than he did. No, like I feel like he'll be able, if he does get the
It was
opportunity.
bigger. The thing is, Edelman was bigger. I
That's
wouldn't
true.
say he had a better build because the one thing about Julian is when he got here, he really transformed his body
Yeah, it's
between
true.
his rookie year and his fourth and fifth year. He's a different guy. And again, this is not a knock on Pop.
No.
If we were to do the toughness test, I'd give the edge to Edelman, man, because he's a proven commodity. We
Oh,
know
he
how
is.
tough he was. We know how clutch he was.
No. So,
So I would give him the edge.
oh God, yeah. I wasn't saying that. I was saying I feel like Pop might have the ability to protect himself a little bit better than Edelman did because of his speed. And again, you're right about the size thing. In my head, for some reason, I was thinking Pop might be a little bit bigger,
But
but
that speed only plays when you're in space one-on-one against a guy. One of the things about playing
yeah,
slot receiver in this league is you're going to get hit a lot, especially over the middle, and you've got to be able to absorb contact in close quarters. If you don't, that's problematic, and that would be my concern with him.
so I guess my next question is, I hope you have Edelman in the building, showing him to how he used to get down or protect himself. Like I know
Yeah,
he
and
got
showing
banged
him
up.
how he jumps around,
Yeah,
jumps up, and jumps down.
what? Yeah. But like if you remember, like he'd find a perfect little spot, kind of curl up in a ball when he caught a ball, or as he was going down. Um, that's teachable. No,
It's kind
like
of
to
a
get
human.
down.
No, it's kind of a natural reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he going to teach him? How to get into the fetal position? I mean, he knows how to do that.
So I guess I'm
I
on
mean,
board
and
with
how
you.
often is Edelman going to be here's the thing. If Edelman's going to work with him, that would be awesome. If Edelman's going to come to town, go to Foxborough, and teach him how to get in the fetal position, that's a waste of Edelman's time.
When
You
you put
can
it
you
that
can
way,
show him how to do that on Wednesday.
it's true. No, when you put it that way, it's
You tuck your tail between your legs pretty often with the media stuff, so you're pretty good
that's
at being in the
that's
fetal
not true.
position.
That's certainly not true. Um, no, so I guess I was just sort of maybe I'm not wording it right, but I feel
No,
like
I know what you're saying.
like
What you're saying is you want Edelman to teach him how to protect himself.
yeah, and then I mean when you put it that way in the fetal position, it's a dumbass question, but um, no,
That's
again,
what you're
maybe
saying in
it's
essence.
yeah, but maybe it's like a tip here or there. That's all I'm
Yeah. No,
saying. Like
absolutely, man. Look, if
yeah,
I'm that kid, anybody that plays slot in this system, if
right.
Edelman shows up to training camp practice, you pick his brain. If Wes Welker shows up, as far as I know, he's not employed by anybody right now. I could be
No,
wrong.
yeah, he is.
Is he?
Yeah, I wanted him here. He signed with someone.
All right, we'll
Um,
figure that out.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but nonetheless, if a Julian Edelman is here, you want to pick his brain. If a Danny Amendola shows up, you want to pick his brain. So, I mean,
No, yeah,
either way, those guys played in the slot in this system. They know the offense. They know the verbiage. They know the route adjustments. They know the side adjustments. They know how to get on the same page with the quarterback. Those guys are here. You ask questions for sure. Ken checks back in. Will both Kevin and John be present at training camp? Yes, we will be. Kevin, probably more so than me, but I will be making appearances as well. Thanks for checking in again, Ken. Appreciate it. You got anything else on the Patriots here before we move on? I should say on the Patriots. On the offensive side of the ball, we've talked about it for about 40 minutes now, but I do want to get into some key battles to watch and some storylines as well.
no, I do think it's gonna be fascinating to see what Josh McDaniels particularly looks like without Tom Brady. Like that's all we've been hearing, and now he's got a
Well, I
decent
think we have a
quarterback.
little bit of a sample size of that, though, with Matt Castle in 08 and
True.
Garoppolo and
People,
Brissett in 16.
so
He
I know
did
we
pretty
believe
good
that.
without him those 2 years.
I know we believe that. There's a lot of people that don't. So I'm hoping
Well, I
he can
think it's
just do a
idiotic
couple
if you
things.
don't believe it. Like, if you're basing it
Oh,
on
I
what he
know.
did in Denver and Vegas, that's ridiculous to me. I'm sorry. It just is.
Agreed.
And
Yep.
look, we got to keep it in the context of the Patriots. As far as life without Tom Brady, I thought he did a tremendous job in 08 with Castle. Okay, they won 11-5. Didn't win
Should've
the
made the
division, didn't
playoffs.
make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But he did a great job with him. Okay, 2016, I thought he did an even better job with Garoppolo and Brissett when Brady was suspended. They went 3-1 in those 4 games. So we can sit here and talk about all we want. Oh, Jesus, some questions about how's he going to be without Tom Brady. Well, those questions were answered in 08. They were answered in 16, and I'll take it a step further. They were answered in 2021 when he did a fabulous job with Mac Jones, the only good year Mac Jones has had in his career. So when you look at those 3 years, I think that's more than enough of a sample size for me to trust Josh McDaniels. I think that people not trusting Josh McDaniels is this faux thing that people are into around here because people around here love to bitch and bellyache. Well, I'm not joining the parade on this one. I'm sitting that one out. I have full confidence in Josh McDaniels. I love the hire. I think he's going to help May's development. I think he's going to get a lot out of him. And my hope is he's here for a while because I think when he's been here, when you look at his body of work and the job he's done, again, I don't give a shit about Denver and Vegas. When you look at his time here, he was one of the best offensive coordinators in the NFL. I'm all in on Josh McDaniels, 100%. I'm choking on the Kool-Aid here.
Same. I am too. And it's just, that's what you're going to hear all summer until we get to the regular season.
Hey, to each their own, I suppose. Real quick, what are some camp battles you're looking at here? For me, I think obviously it starts with the offensive line, that left guard spot. I don't think it's a lock that it's Cole Strange's job to lose. I think he's gonna start as the left guard. He'll be the leader in the clubhouse, but I think Leighton Robinson has a shot at it. I think same thing goes with center. I don't think that Garrett Bradbury is a lock to be your starting center. I think Ben Brown's going to push him. I think a couple of the other young guys are going to potentially push for playing time. So it starts up front for me. And I'll take it a step further. I know that he's starting the year out, but Vidarian Lowe, when he comes back and he's healthy, he's going to push Will Campbell. I don't think Vidarian's just going to give him the keys to the car and say, have at it, Haas. I think he's going to push him at left tackle as well. So a lot of competition up front along the offensive line because you can make the argument outside of the right side with Onwenu and Moses, the other 3 spots are up for grabs. I mean, obviously, in a perfect world, Will Campbell's your starting left tackle, but I wouldn't say that's a given. He's going to have to earn it and have a strong camp.
Yeah, I mean, Vrabel's not going to hand anybody anything. He's made that abundantly clear. We talked about tight end earlier. I just think that those depth pieces, if they're going to have to battle it out, because you're going to need one of those guys in case Henry or Hooper goes down. So tight end's interesting to me. We talked about receiver, obviously. And then one position I feel like a lot of people aren't talking about is linebacker. You have Spillane, you have Christian Ellis, but then after that, like a guy like Jelani Tavai, for instance, does he make this team? Like he probably does, but I think it's questionable. Like there's some
depends on how they want to play. That's what it's going to come down to. It depends how they want to play. If they want to play a bunch of 3 safety stuff, if they want to play a bunch of nickel, some dime, some quarter stuff, then he might not make this team. But if they want to play more base where they play with 2 linebackers and then a nickel and then maybe 3 safeties and 2 backers, they can do so many different things with their personnel, then yeah, he can make this team. I mean, look, he struggled last year. Make no mistake about it. And I think you can make the argument.
He didn't help himself either.
He didn't help himself either with that stuff at the end of the year. But on top of that, he did not play well. When he stepped in for Juwan Bentley and he took over in the middle, he just wasn't the same guy. Then he got banged up in minicamp. There's a lot of question marks here with Tavai. So do I think Tavai's a lock to make this team? No, I don't think he's a lock to make this team. But I still think he has a pretty good shot because you have Spillane, you have Christian Ellis, you have I don't know why his name is escaping me right now.
Swinson?
Well, Swinson's going to play on the outside. He's going to play on the edge. But
I just sort of meant linebacker in general. Like I think there's a lot of questions in that position group aside from Spillane and Ellis, really.
Right, but I think again, when you look at what they have there, I think he has a shot, but it's going to come down to how many guys you want to carry, right? Because again, a lot of this is going to come down to how are you going to play philosophically? What are you going to do in certain downs and distances, and how are you going to use your sub packages, and how many guys you want? I mean, this is a team now. I think they're going to carry a lot of edge guys. That they're going to want to have a lot of depth inside a defensive tackle, and they're going to want to have a rotation on the outside. So if that's the case, at the most, they probably carry 3 true linebackers, and then they'll carry another edge guy and another inside guy at defensive tackle. Because again, it's going to be a one-gap attacking defense. They're going to need bodies up front. They're going to need to rotate those bodies. There may not be enough room for a 4th linebacker.
Yeah, no, again, it's just, I feel like it's just sort of flying under the radar, especially with Vrabel as your head coach. It's an important position, especially communication-wise, too. So,
yes,
that would be
absolutely.
interesting to watch.
It is. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is, again, we talk about who they're going to carry, but what are you going to do on the back end? What do you do at safety, right? I think when we talk about competition, obviously the other big competition is at wide receivers, of course, who's going to be your 5th and 6th receiver. We've already talked about that. But another position where I think there's going to be a lot of competition is at safety. I think Craig Woodson can play for them right away. I think Marcus Epps can play a lot for this team because he gives them something they really don't have, which is a true free safety. Woodson can be that baseball turd, flip his hips type of guy over the top as well, especially in single high coverages. So what does that mean for a Jabril Peppers? What does that mean for a Jalen Hawkins? What does it even mean for a Kyle Duggar? You have depth at that position now, and you have guys in Epps and Woodson in particular that can do a lot of different things for you within a scheme that can play in a lot of different spots. So I look, I mean, again, and I've said this, I've been on record as saying this, Vrabel is going to push the competition angle. If I'm a veteran on this team, especially a returning veteran that was here under both Mayo and Belichick, I'm not comfortable right now. You don't have any reason to be comfortable. You really don't, especially if you're a big money player. I wouldn't be that comfortable. I really wouldn't, because you're going to have to go out there and earn it. And by the way, the guy that I was thinking about was Jack Gibbons, who played for Vrabel in Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah.
And Gibbons is a guy that can certainly, he's got the size. He's got the ability to play on 1st and 2nd down. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 6'3", 245. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things. He knows the defense already. He's going to have an inherent advantage over somebody like a Jelani Tavai.
Yeah, unquestionably. I'm trying to think if we missed anything. I don't think so, right?
No, we didn't. I mean, we kind of blended the storylines with the competition there. But and again, I think if you want to get into the weeds about storylines, and I know Ken brought this up earlier, and again, thanks for checking in, Ken. I think for me, when it comes to storylines, look, number one is Drake May's development and this fit in this system. What does he look like going into year 2? Number 2 is the offensive line. They need Will Campbell to be their starting left tackle. With all due respect to Fadarian Lowe, he did the best he could the last couple of years to hold it down there. Will Campbell's a better player. Will Campbell was a 4th overall pick. He's the future. The future's now. He needs to start for them at left tackle. But again, we need to figure out who's your left guard, who's your starting center. Right now, it would be Strange and Bradbury, but there'll be competition there. I wouldn't rule out a couple of those young guys potentially starting there as well. Another key storyline is going to be obviously the competition at wide receiver. What happens on the back end with guys like Douglas and Booty and Polk and Baker? Do these guys make the team again? It's hard to believe that a guy like Jalen Polk is on the bubble, but he is square on the bubble. I don't care what anybody says. He is on the bubble. He has a lot of talent. He could potentially be a good fit in this system, but he is going to need to really, really have a strong camp to be locked in as one of the potentially 6 receivers that they could carry here. Because again, I think it's important to point out they're going to carry more bodies on defense than they have in recent years, especially up front. And then I think the other thing is, for me, another storyline, Kevin, is the veterans, the returning veterans. What does Jabril Peppers look like after an injury-filled season where he had legal troubles off the field? What does he look like? Does Duggar bounce back and respond? We talk about the linebackers. Marte Mapu was one of their best defensive players at times last year. They've moved him to linebacker. What does that mean for him? What do they envision for him? How are they going to use him? Okay, so there's going to be a lot of competition on the back end as well. And the other thing is Christian Barmore. What does he look like? He had blood clots twice last year. We know what he dealt with, what he went through. If you go back to 2023, he's top 5 at his position. Dominant season, 9.5 sacks. Can he get back to that? Can he be that guy? And if he does become that guy and he can play the 3 tech for them, that frees them up now to move Milton Williams around and use him a lot like the Philadelphia Eagles did. So There's a lot of question marks there. Certainly when it comes to storylines, Patriots have a lot of talent. They've certainly upgraded the roster, but those questions are going to be answered this summer.
Yeah, no, and just while you were going on, I was trying to think of anything
While
else.
it was going on, you
I said,
you dazed
no,
up. I saw
no,
you.
you know what I mean. But
You had a
just
glassy look in your eyes.
just just in terms of local storylines too, and I said this a lot during OTAs. Jack Conley can make this team. We
Yes.
talk about the competition with the
Jack
line.
Conley, to your point about making this team, Kevin, Jack Conley's a precious commodity in the game today.
Yeah,
He's a swing guy. He
versatility.
can play.
Yeah.
He can play both tackles. He can play both guards. He knows Marone. He has a relationship with him. That's huge. He can very easily make this team. Because let's be honest, right? A lot of the guys through the last couple years that we know, right? Like City So. Is City So a guy that you can legitimately say is going to make this team? No.
God, no.
I think, if anything, I would put City So in the long shot category.
I would say I'd put Conley ahead of him.
Oh, absolutely. I would put Conley ahead of him as well. I would put City So in the long shot category. I wouldn't say he's – I would say the same thing about Trey Jacobs. I mean, he struggled last year. He started 13 games for them, but he struggled last year. And I was a bit surprised. I'm not going to lie to you that they brought him back on a one-year deal. I mean –
and on the other side, locally, Truman Jones had a pretty good OTA session. Now, I don't think he makes the active roster, but I could see him being a practice squad guy.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious to ask Mike Vrabel what he's seen from him if I have a chance tomorrow, because, again, he was an inherited guy who's so far made the cut, which means, again, you've been a coach. Vrabel must see something in him, no?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, Truman's done enough to stick around in this league, right? He's an edge rusher. He's a guy that can play off the edge. He's not like some explosive speed demon that's going to rack up 10 sacks in a situational pass rusher role, but he's a guy that gives you some alignment versatility. He can play on special teams. He can carve out a role for himself. But again, I think going back to the offensive line, the important piece here is going to be you got some young guys here that you need to figure things out with. What do you have in Marcus Bryant, the rookie out of Missouri? I love his size. I love his tools. I think he's clay that can be molded by Marone and the offensive line staff. So he's a guy that probably starts the year in the practice squad, but he could potentially develop into a swing tackle. And then Caden Wallace made a couple starts last year. What do you have in him? I mean, in my view, at this stage of the game, even though I was pounding the table for him at the very least as your right tackle of the future, potential to maybe play on the left side, I still believe in this kid. I still think he can play guard. I think he can play inside. He could be a potential replacement for Onwenu down the road at right guard. That's another kid that you want to develop and keep around. So they're probably going to carry 7 offensive linemen, maybe 8. I could see 8. But of those 8, those 3 extras better have position versatility. And that applies to every team in the league now. If they don't have position versatility, you can't carry him. You can't carry a guy that's strictly a right tackle anymore. You can't even carry a guy that's strictly a left tackle anymore. These guys have to be able to play everywhere along the offensive line in order to stick. So we shall see. We've been talking Patriots now for almost an hour. So we're going to remind you that if you're in the market to sell your current home and move into your next home, purchase your first home or refinance, give our good buddy Herb Devine a call, 781-254-2846. You can also shoot him an email at herb@mortgageright.com. With over 27 years of experience, he has the knowledge and the know-how to help you in this process. Again, give him a call at 781-254-2846 or shoot him an email at herb@mortgageright.com. He and his team are available anytime, including nights and weekends. Feel free to talk on this thing, Stone, will you? I mean, I have like tight jaw muscles from doing all the talking tonight.
Why would I talk during the read ad?
Not during the read, you knucklehead, as Charles Barkley would say. Rock checks back in, solid. Rock should be our research guy. Crack research director. Rock says, Welker. The Rock says, Welker is listed as a personnel analyst for the Commanders. Thanks for checking in, Rock. As I was telling you that, though, in my mind, I'm thinking, isn't he with Washington now?
Yeah, I looked it up.
After you said to me, you're like, no, I'm pretty sure he's in the league. In my mind, I'm like, pretty sure Quinn hired him in Washington. Oh, there you go. Rock confirmed it.
It's gonna be a hell of a week when they come here.
Yeah. So then he could pick his brain. In theory, he could pick his
Yeah,
brain.
true.
Ken checks back in. How impactful can rookie wide receiver Kyle Williams be for May and company?
I can't believe we didn't mention him.
Yeah, well, that's why it pays to have loyal followers like Ken Matthias, because Ken brought
his
him up. I can't believe we didn't mention him either.
his
Shame
speed,
on us. Tisk tisk.
it's
I think.
real.
Look, before you say whatever you say, I'm only going to say one quick thing. I'm very cautiously optimistic about Kyle Williams.
So before I say my thing, what's preventing you from being all in on him?
Their history with receivers. I was all in on Jalen Polk last
Fair.
year. I was sitting in the tent spewing Greg Jennings vibes and talking about, what he could be potentially. And, people are like, well, you coach, I mean, if you see that, we'll believe you. I'm not saying shit this year in the tent about Kyle Williams. I'm going to let Kyle Williams' performance at practice do the talking. I'm not going to pump his tires because, look, 2 years ago, it was the same thing with Pop. Like, with this team and wide receiver development, it's best that you say less. And I'm going to say less. I'm going to say less, as the kids like to say today.
So it's funny. I was expecting some technical, offensive receiver term or reasoning, but that's probably the best one anyone can give is their draft history. Look, I was a believer in Malcolm Mitchell. I'd love to know what happens if he doesn't get hurt. I thought he was probably.
I'll tell you what happens. He wrote children's books. The end. That was his story.
But you know what I mean? Like, I thought he could have been like one of their actual hits. But look, again, with the caveat that it's OTAs, the speed is real. I'm not sure. And he was lined up outside virtually every time we saw him. They haven't had that. So now, can he catch first of all, can he get off the line? Can he deal with that jam? Can he now catch the ball 50 yards downfield with someone draped on his back? We'll see. But in OTAs, at least, it's something they haven't had in a while.
Earlier we talked about 11 personnel. What's your best personnel grouping? If he's as much of the real deal as we think he could be, your best 11 personnel grouping is probably Bourne at the Z, Williams at the F, and Diggs at the X. I know Diggs isn't a true X, and I don't love him out there. They really don't have a true X on this roster, though. Williams can play the X as well, but that's probably your best receiver group. If Williams is who we think he is, that's probably your best 11 personnel group in terms of the receivers.
It's a small thing, but he also hasn't talked. And what I mean by that is, you remember what Javon Baker said when he got drafted last year?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't shut the F up. It was annoying.
Right.
The kid did himself no favors last year.
Correct. This kid said all the right things. He's seemingly done all the right things. And again, I know we're going to move on, but it just kind of popped in my head. The whole getting together thing, receivers and quarterback before the season. I think we might have talked about it last week, but do you put any stock into that just in terms of building that continuity?
It doesn't hurt. It helps. I mean, for years, I've pushed it at the high school level as a head coach, as a coordinator. We did it at the college level, get together with your guys. You put it on the quarterback. You say, hey, listen, here's 5 footballs. You run the whole thing. You call the guys, you organize it, you pick the time, you pick the place, you get together with those guys. Sometimes, I mean, in the past, I've given my quarterback a script. I said, here you go. Take this, go up to the field on Wednesday night at 6, it's available. Go up there, get an hour of working with your guys, get them into these formations, use these personnel groupings, work on these concepts. Yeah, it helps. 100% helps. Listen, football, where it's more uniquely different than hockey and basketball and baseball, is it's orchestrated. You've got to be on the same page. Okay, those are freelance sports. There's no dribbling the ball between your legs in football. There's no skating and joining the rush. It's orchestrated. If you're not on the same page, if you're not running the play the right way, if you're not throwing the break as the quarterback, if the receiver's not snapping his head around on the break so that the timing is there in terms of the ball placement, play's dead. It's not going to work. It's going to be an incomplete pass. So that stuff helps, in my opinion. It can only help if your guys get together before the season and do some work together.
I figured. I just wanted to check.
Good. I'm glad that you checked. And I'm glad that we were able to clarify that for you.
No, because again, some people just sort of, say, "Oh, it is what it is," whatever.
No,
That stuff matters,
it
especially
does.
with
Oh
a
yeah.
new offense.
Well, and even as a lacrosse guy, man. I mean, if you can get together with
Continuity.
your guys and bang the ball around and
Hmm.
work on your dodges and
It's just
slowing the ball down and
it's
making that
knowing when
extra
someone.
pass. Yeah,
It's more knowing, when someone's going to be somewhere if you can't see them, or
yeah,
something like that. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Absolutely, 100%. It can only
Yeah.
help. It helps in every sport, but I think in football
Yeah.
it's even more important because of the orchestrated nature of the sport. College football chatter, real quick. Obviously, Boston College is going to be opening up training camp on August 30th. Most schools will be opening up training camp by the end of next week in the area. Did I say August 30th? July
Yeah, it's
30th.
opening day.
Yeah, August 30th is their opener against Fordham at home. That's in my head. They open training camp July 30th. Most schools will be back by the first weekend in August, including the FCS schools. Of course, we've got a bunch of media days this week. CAA Media Day on Wednesday, ACC Media Day on Thursday. We also have the Max Media Day at the end of this week as
Patriot
well.
Patriot League.
Patriot
Oh,
League
God.
as well. So a lot of media days this week as well. It's a busy week for us. Start of Patriots training camp, but you also have the college media days that are upon us as
Perfect timing.
well. Yeah, perfect timing. I mean, what could go wrong? So a lot going on in that regard. We'll have full coverage of all this for you, of course, as we always do. High school wise, real quick before we wrap up the show, I do want to mention West beat the East 41-6 in the 35th annual Lobster Bowl. And perhaps the most impressive thing is that they raised a record high. They've been playing this game for 35 years up in Maine, but they raised $236,000 for the Shriners. That's unbelievable, man.
It's awesome.
That's unbelievable. And again, East jumps out to a 6-0 lead. We talked about that this weekend. East jumps out to a 6-0 lead, and then the West proceeds to score 41 unanswered points. Talented team on the West side for in the Lobster Bowl. And again, they got the win 41-6. And again, super impressive that they were able to raise $236,000 for the Shriners. That is awesome. Got the another Shriners game coming up on August 2nd between New Hampshire and Vermont. That is the Maple Bowl between New Hampshire and Vermont. So that'll be good as well. We'll have coverage of that for you as well. And Northeast 7-on-7. Of course, with the South Regional this weekend, BBNN won on Saturday, and Barnstable beat Abington 26-6 yesterday in the small school bracket. So both of those teams win their respective brackets and move on to the New England Championship round. And, of course, our good buddy Steve Dombowski, head football coach at Milton High School, does a great job with the Northeast 7-on-7. Our Mukala Kabongo was there on Saturday. Mukala did a great job. It's good stuff, man. I mean, it's amazing. We were really the first ones to cover that stuff about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's great to see now that the Globe, the Herald covers it. I think people put a value on that stuff and it's easy to say, well, it's that time of year you need content, but I think it's good for the kids, and I think it's good for the sport that these 7-on-7s are covered.
I was going to say, it is arguably the best way for teams offensively to tune up before training camp.
Yeah.
You can't even. It's unquestionable. Like,
it helps a lot more than people think. It's interesting because a former player of mine who's a coach texted me today, and he says, Coach S, I couldn't believe I read an article by you on 7-on-7 football. He goes, I remember when you were our offensive line coach at Franklin. I can still picture you to this day with your hat on backwards, a pencil in your ear, screaming at us about we need to run the football to win. Never mind this football on air bullshit. You win by running the football and setting a physical tone. Nobody cares about this two-hand touch in T-shirts and shorts. And yeah, I railed against it, but that was back in my younger day when I was full of more piss and vinegar and more focused on being the best line coach I could be and getting the most out of my guys. So yeah, I've changed my tune. I mean, I think they're important. Listen, and some people will tell you when I was at King Philip, we didn't give two shits whether or not we won the Northeast 7-on-7. With all due respect to the tournament, for us, it was more about getting our guys there, getting them into rhythm, getting them together, talking football, talking terminology. If we won a couple of rounds, great. Heck, if we won the whole thing, awesome. But it was never our objective. It was always let the guys get back together, have some fun together, and we go from there. Now, King Philip hasn't done it in years, but at least 4, to my knowledge. But the bottom line is it does have value. I think a lot of coaches for a long time didn't think 7-on-7s have value, but they do have value.
Yeah, no, 100%. And hell, high school training camp is going to be here before you know it.
Yeah. And again, Boston College opens on July 30th. Many of the FBS and FCS schools will be in camp by August 2nd. So
yeah, the Ivy League start the 23rd, I believe.
Yes.
So those are coming too.
Yep. Yeah. So it's here, man. It's here. So it's
Year 5.
Yeah. It's hard to believe. All right. Any final thoughts here before we wrap it up? And don't wax politically about year 5. People don't care.
No, I was just going to say it's pretty crazy. It's year 5, but no.
They don't want to hear how busy we are either. They just want us, to get our asses to places and put up content.
I was going to say you'll be seeing and hearing a lot more of us now. We haven't per se taken a break, but we have been a little bit quieter than usual. That's going to stop as of tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, America, but you're going to get more Kevin Stone. Now you're going to know how I feel. All right. I'm kidding, of course. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of the New England Football Show. For my partner, Kevin Stone, I'm John Sarianides. We will be back with you next week. Until then, get out to Patriots Training Camp. It's football season, folks. It's here. Get out and enjoy the start of the best season of them all. Until next Monday, for Kevin, I'm John. Peace.
See ya.